What's up? Welcome to another draft. Back in the vintage cube streets. I haven't played for a few days, so not sure what I'm looking to play today. I think I could take the Signet or maybe Stoneforge or Tide Hollow Sculler. I like the black-white disruption deck with like little creatures. Just try to disrupt your opponent and attack them for small amounts. That's pretty good in this format that revolves around like single powerful cards or revolves around combos. If you can just take out one of the combo pieces, maybe it disrupts their whole combo. So disruption like that is pretty good. But yeah, not a ton of great things to start with here. So I think I'll just take the Signet, which keeps me pretty open, and I can go into a blue deck. If I want to even play the artifact deck, Signet is probably better than Metalworker. And then if the Metalworker wheels, then you're in the right archetype. I could take Mystic Confluence now. It's a really good blue card, and it would go well with my Signet. I could also take Worn Power Stone and work towards a big mana deck. I don't love just trying to force that I would rather get like the payoff first, like start with an upheaval in the first few picks and then kind of draft around it. A lot of times I used to draft the mana really highly, and then I would end up with some really mediocre decks with average win conditions, and yeah, it just didn't work out great. So I think I'll just take the blue card. I think it goes best with my first pick. So to continue along this path, the card I would take is Teferi. Blue-white is a real good combo. Teferi is good against a lot of decks. It works against the blue decks really well because the passive ability stops all their counter spells. But it can also help you clear up the board against like creature decks. So I actually just like Teferi a lot. And then there's not really a card that makes me want to move into another archetype. So I think it just makes sense to take Teferi. There's some decent cards in this pack. Fiery Confluence is really good. It's so versatile. You can destroy artifacts against the mana decks, or you can like wipe the board against the creature decks, or you can even just do 6 damage to their face. Like that's pretty good sometimes. Baleful Strix is really good. It would put me into 3 colors, which I don't love, but Esper is a good color combo. Just Esper control gives you a lot of options. Monastery Mentor is okay, but you really want to have like the right deck to take advantage of it with a bunch of cheap instants and sorceries and stuff. I don't see it as a super necessary card to have. I think I'll just take the Baleful Strix. I guess red looks a little bit open. So I could have taken that Sacred Foundry and then ended up in Jeskai instead of Esper, so I kind of regret that pick, but Baleful Strix is a really good card, so we'll see how this goes. I also don't need to play white. I could end up in either blue-black or blue-white. So there's a decent white-black land. That's not high on my priorities list. Collective Brutality is an okay card. The blue card, Torrential Gearhulk, it does go well with my Mystic Confluence. I've been liking that card more and more lately, so I might just give it a try here because I think I'm most likely to play blue, and then I don't know what else I'm doing yet. So my colors look pretty open, which is kind of surprising. A lot of times I'll start with a card like Mystic Confluence, and then blue will just completely dry up. Those drafts can be kind of awkward, but there's a lot of good options here. Walking Ballista is really versatile. You can cast it on a bunch of spots in the curve. It can attack planeswalkers or just kill little creatures. Path to Exile is really efficient, even if it's better in the late game. I think I want to take one of those cards. I don't love Sphinx's Revelation or Search for Azcanta. I only like Search in the Reanimator deck. I think I'm going to take Walking Ballista just to stay more open. If that was Swords to Plowshares, I probably would have taken it. But I think Path is a little bit weaker because I don't want to cast Path in the first few turns of the game. So yeah, there's, again, a pack with some good black and white. options. The land is not one of the best ones, so I don't really want to take it. I think Council's Judgment is just the best card. I think the O-ring effects are pretty good in this cube because you want to have game against a bunch of different strategies. And Council's Judgment is the best of the O-ring effects because it's the hardest to disrupt. So Linvala is a decent sideboard card. Stonecoil Serpent is a decent card, decent threat. I don't know if threats are what I'm going to need in this deck. I like Vindicate a lot, but I have no fixing right now, so I'm not sure if I'm going to play black. I think Vindicate has the highest upside, even though it's less likely to get in my deck, actually. So white-black is definitely open. I've been seeing it this whole pack, and now this Tidehollow Sculler has wheeled. So I can either take Tidehollow Sculler or I can take Hero's Downfall. Both are kind of hard to cast. I kind of want to be heavier white because I have this Council's Judgment. So I think I'll just take the Tidehollow Sculler. It's cheaper and a little bit easier to cast. I think I'll take Gideon. It can be good in some of the control matchups, even though this deck isn't exactly looking for a Planeswalker like Gideon. Gideon only attacks the game in like along one axis. It can just attack and it makes your creatures better. I guess it does exile permanents, but it takes a while to get to that point to where you're actually interacting with the opponent. I'm just going to take Duress here, I think. Land tax is okay. Duress is going to be just actively good in some matchups. I'm not sure if I can ever use Blast Zone effectively, but maybe it'll happen. And last pick, Tasigur. So yeah, black-white definitely open. Blue not super open, but not super cut either. I mean, I could even just not play blue. I would be taking out these 4 cards. So I certainly see that as an option. But what ends up happening is that the blue cards, even if you have less of them, they're the most powerful cards in your deck, and they do stuff that can't be replaced. Like counterspells are not replaceable in any other color, whereas a lot of this removal, like Vindicate or Council's Judgment, is kind of replaceable. So I'll probably just have to take Library here. It's good in this type of deck if it can just keep drawing me into my Vindicates, into my Teferis, my cards that trade. You really get to take advantage of that card advantage. I think it's a pretty easy pick here. There are some good cards in that pack. Maybe I can table one of them, but probably not. So Resto is okay in this deck. It can blink Baleful Strix or my 2 discard creatures, which that's not amazing. But it does synergize well with my... Actually, yeah, it can blink Gear Hulk. That might be getting a little bit towards the win more category. Like if I've casted Gear Hulk to flashback something already, like I'm probably just pretty far ahead in that game. But it does synergize well, just having more flash creatures. So the Resto looks okay. I also like Brazen Borrower a lot. Demonic Tutor is obviously a strong card, but I don't think it's what you want in a Esper control deck because of like the negative tempo. I just don't want to spend 2 mana to not affect the board. So this pick kind of comes down to like, am I going to play blue or not? And I think my blue cards are good enough that I should just take the Brazen Borrower. And now I get past 2 really powerful blue cards, Cryptic Command and Counterspell. This deck is not going to be casting Cryptic Command. I want to play this Library, which is a colorless land. I don't have any other help for my mana base. I still don't necessarily have to play all these black cards, though. Like, I picked up this Kite Sail and this Duress late in the last pack. They might even be sideboard cards. My mana base doesn't have to be that ambitious, but I think I have to take Counterspell over Cryptic Command. I also have Mystic Confluence, which fills the role of Cryptic Command. And then there's some decent lands here again, Dark Slick Shores and Prismatic Vista, but I think I want to take the really strong card first. I know I want to play blue. Karn is also good, so is Sun Titan. Maybe I can wheel one of those. I think I just take Dimir Signet here. Even if I don't play black, it's going to be good to have a blue a blue signet. You usually end up having some strong 4 and 5 mana plays in this deck that you want to ramp up to, like some planeswalkers, hopefully. I don't have them yet, but I don't think I have to take a Wrath of God this highly. Anguished Unmaking, I already have 2 of that effect in my deck. I can probably table Anguished Unmaking, just given I tabled Tidehollow Sculler in the first pack. I like Venser. Venser is a pretty good card. I've said that it's too slow in the Vintage Cube before, which I kind of believe, but it's really good if you get Caracas and then you can just start looping it. And it looks really good in this deck because I have a lot of instants already. So that powers up the Venser. And then the Planeswalkers, Liliana is pretty strong, but I don't really think I'm going to cast it. And then Elspeth is kind of similar to Gideon Blackblade, where it kind of just works along that one creature axis. And it's not something I value super highly. It's really good at killing opposing Planeswalkers. So I actually do kind of like Elspeth, but I think Venser is going to be better for this deck because of all the instant speed synergies. And here I'll just take Daze, pretty strong card. I can fetch Walking Ballista with my Trinket Mage, but Trinket Mage not really looking playable here. The rest of the pack is not really looking playable either, though. I really don't like Elspeth's Sun's Champion in this iteration of the cube. It's really good at controlling creatures, but most of the decks don't have creatures. So I think you want a 6-drop that ends the game quicker. Elspeth doesn't win the game that fast. So I'll take Trinket Mage, and I might open a Mox next pack. So here I could take Hero of Bladehold, which is a decent threat. Or I can take Faith's Fetters, which is another O-Ring effect. It's a little bit slow because it's 4 mana. I think I would rather take the threat at this point. I already might be wheeling the other Vindicate, the instant speed one, so I don't think I really need too many of that effect. Maybe this Hero of Bladehold will probably be in my sideboard, but I could see an instance where I would want it. This is a pretty easy Cloudskate. Cloudskate's really good in this type of strategy where I can hold up counter spells, I can suspend my Cloudskate, and then my opponent is kind of getting attacked from both sides. Like, if they don't play into my counters, they're gonna just keep getting hit with my tempo plays where I bounce something with Venser or Cloudskate or Teferi. And so you kind of take their options away. I guess I'm taking Kaya. I haven't been able to use it yet, but maybe we'll try that out. Here's a blue-black land. Still not sure if I'm playing black. Of these cards, I definitely want Anguished Unmaking. So not really going to be able to play any of these cards. I'm going to take the Phyrexian Arena just on the off chance I want to play black over white, which I could, and I'm getting a last pick ultimate price. So yeah, especially I could see a matchup where I would want to just play black, take out this Council's Judgment, take out the Gideon Blackblade, and now all of a sudden I have a blue-black deck that can maybe splash white for Teferi if it wants to. I didn't want to take Brimaz, which is just another vanilla Hero of Bladehold effect. I think I already have enough of that. Not sure which way I want to go here. Definitely want to play blue, and tabling that Cloudskate was really good. I wonder if I can play Emery in this deck. I have Torrential Gearhulk, Walking Ballista, 2 Signets, Baleful Strix, Tidehollow Sculler. I'm going to speculate on the Emery, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to use this card. I could have taken Condemn, but I really don't like that card. Mox Diamond is a strong card. It's really good if you have some card draw, because then you're just going to have extra cards in your hand, and you're going to be able to use that extra mana easier and offset the card disadvantage. I can fetch it with my Trinket Mage. Still don't know if I want to play that. Snapcaster is really good, obviously, and it has some good targets in my deck. So I think I either want to take Mox Diamond or Snapcaster Mage. I might not need Mox Diamond in this deck. My curve is not super high. I'm not really ramping into Planeswalkers that are going to be back-breaking. I might just want the... Yeah, I also don't have a lot of card draw, and Snapcaster Mage in itself is a card advantage spell. So I think I'm going to move more towards that side. even though, yeah, Mox Diamond is a really good card that I want to play a lot of the time. Here's two good 3-mana plays that both get you card advantage, Thief of Sanity and Narset. I do have enough non-creature hits with Narset. I don't have a huge number of them. I'm not really looking at Karn or Wormcoil. I think I just take Narset because it's a little easier to cast, and it's also a little harder to interact with. It would be good to know what color combo I'm playing so far. The 3-color deck doesn't look amazing, just because I've not gotten a lot of dual lands. Yeah, my black and white is just, they're both kind of equal right now, so I guess it's not too important which way I go. Again, I think I have enough top end and I'll probably table something, so I'm gonna stick with Ponder. So here's an Ashiok, maybe that will move me more towards black, and it's a pretty good win condition. I don't like the other options. This isn't really a Jite deck. I do have enough creatures to play Jite, but I think that's a sideboard card. Ashiok is also really good against creature decks, and Tinker is not working in my deck. I already have 2 Mesmeric Fiend effects. Yeah, I think my deck does need some ways to win the game. Right now I kind of just have like weak creature beats with like my Brazen Borrower, Snapcaster Mage, Cloudskate type things. So yeah, I do need a win condition at some point. Gideon Jura is really good against the creature decks, and it would give me a win condition, so I don't mind that idea. Yeah, I don't think I need Fairgrounds Warden or Go for the Throat. I have a lot of removal. Dark Confidant looks decent in this deck. My curve is pretty low. I have a lot of 3-drops, but I don't really have any card draw spells. I have Mystic Confluence, which is not exactly a card draw spell. And then I have Narset. So I like the effect that Bob gives this deck. There's really nothing in this pack, so yeah, I'm just going to take that. I'm not really going to be able to use any of these cards except for Baneslayer, which will be like an okay sideboard card. Baral didn't really get any better for me over the course of this pack. I think I can just take Languish, or I can take Kitchen Finks. They're both good against the creature decks. I think I want to be white against the creature decks because I have Gideon. So that would lead me to wanting Kitchen Finks. So let's just do that. I like Unexpectedly Absent a lot. Inquisition is also decent. I feel like my black cards are a little bit better than my white cards at the moment. I think I should take Inquisition. I like Mana Tithe a lot. Avacyn is also decent and plays with my instant speed strategy, but yeah, I think Mana Tithe is too good. So this draft was a little tricky just because I wasn't sure what my second color was. I wasn't faced with a black pick versus a white pick too often though. And as you can see, I have so many playables. I have 29 playables. So I think there was a few picks I could have changed around, and like I could have seen this Mana Tithe tabling, and then I would not have taken this Inquisition. I could have taken the Unexpectedly Absent. Then I would have been better off to be in white. So still not exactly sure what I want to do. I think I'm gonna try taking out white first. Yeah, unfortunately my mana is just really bad. So I have some options of how I can go with this deck. This black version is fairly disruptive. I have Inquisition and Duress and Kitesail Freebooter. I wonder if I got there on this Emery. It's good with Baleful Strix and Walking Ballista. It seems just a little bit weak. This deck is kind of lacking in win conditions. Like, I wish I had that Frost Titan that I passed. The reason I'm leaning towards this version over the white version is just because of card advantage, which this type of deck wants. Like, I think the Bob is pretty good and the Phyrexian Arena is pretty good. Whereas if I play white, I get Teferi, which I think it's on par level with Ashiok, but they're good against different types of decks. Ashiok is better against the decks that go on board. Teferi is better against the blue decks. So it's just a matter of like which one do I want to present in the main deck, and then I can cater my deck afterwards to each matchup. But yeah, the white feels a little bit weak. I have some like mediocre win conditions in white, like Hero of Bladehold and Gideon. I don't think I really want to splash any white card just because I don't have a lot of help on the mana. I do have these two signets, so I have a blue-white signet. And the signets are not amazing in my deck because my curve is kind of empty up here in the 4, 5, 6 slot. So I might even want to cut one of these signets and just have more threats in my deck, more cards that do something. Let me see how many Narset targets I have. I have 11 hits with Narset. That's not bad. It's not great either, though. This deck does have a lot of creatures in it. I think I'm pretty happy playing Duress and Inquisition, though. Duress is just pretty good in the Vintage Cube. I think it has a lot of targets. So if I want to take out this Azorius Signet, I don't really have a great card to put in. Yeah, I think what this deck is lacking is win conditions. I don't really have any splashable ones. Maybe Emery is what I can put in for Azorius Signet. It is a source of card advantage, but it's pretty hard to use. Emery can also power up my Tassiger, which is decent, but it's kind of hard to get value off Baleful Strix. Like, my opponent might not be attacking me, and then they can just ignore my Baleful Strix, just leave it on the battlefield. So maybe I should just go to and just play the white deck. But yeah, I don't like the white deck. A lot of the disruption in the white deck is also black with these 3 cards: Vindicate, Anguish Unmaking, Tide Hollow Sculler. So I want to take Azorius Signet out. I could put in another land like Blast Zone. I do feel like that card is a little bit slow. Or I can have Trinket Mage to fetch only Walking Ballista. Or Emery, which can recast my Torrential Gear Hulk and my Ballista and my Strix. I do need a lot of blue mana in this deck so that I can cast Counterspell and Narset early. I think I'll just play the Emery. Maybe my opponents will also be like a little bit afraid of it, use removal on it. I think it's a lot of higher upside than Trinket Mage. So we'll try it out. This looks okay for the mana. I do want to have black mana on turn 1, but let's do a color sort. My black and blue mana considerations are pretty close. I just have 3 more blue cards. I do have a lot of double blue though, not a lot of double black. Yeah, I think I want one more swamp. Just because the early black considerations make me want more black, just like the double blues make me want more blue. And some of these double blues don't count, like Torrential Gearhulk and Riftwing Cloudskate. Those, I'll have enough mana by the time I get to there. So it's kind of like, and Brazen Borrower also kind of doesn't count. So the double blues I care about are kind of like these 3, but then I also have a Phyrexian Arena, so I think it's kind of equal. But I do want to make sure I always have a swamp on turn 1 for my Duress and Inquisition, so we'll submit this. This hand looks pretty good, I'll keep. That was a good draw. So let's see. I'm not sure what I'll do on turn 2 yet. So these are all good to know about, but it looks like we bricked. So that's making my Kitesail Freebooter look pretty bad too. So this is interesting. My opponent definitely made a mistake putting this Tundra into play. Not definitely. They could be protecting against discard, like Hymn to Turok, but now I know that Fallen Shinobi is a thing that's going to happen. So this is a pretty easy spot. I just play the Bob, and I can worry about disrupting my opponent in a couple of turns. I really don't want to get hit by Fallen Shinobi, which is the ninja that lets your opponent play your cards for free. But I have good answers to that right now. Brazen Borrower, just bouncing it to their hand, that's going to be like a huge tempo swing. So we'll see if my opponent plays into it next turn, and we'll see if they have anything to play right now. So my opponent has 3 creatures, so they're going to be able to get this Fallen Shinobi into play no matter what, which means that I just have to pass and hold up Brazen Borrower. So let's see what my opponent does. If they play Hero of Bladehold, I can just ultimate price it, so I feel okay about my spot, but I am taking some damage for sure. Definitely going to keep this Bob around for a while. Don't want to block with it yet. So opponent is... The Ophiomancer is pretty good because my opponent's not losing any tempo. Just bouncing that. It would have been a lot nicer if they were bouncing this Una's Prowler and getting that thing off of my back. Taking 3 from it is actually like not amazing. And I'm going to have to deal with this Shinobi at some point. And I think that point is going to be now. I don't really have a way to get around it. So I can ultimate price the Una's Prowler, but then my opponent will still be able to attack me with 2 creatures. I can use the Kitesail Freebooter as a blocker on the Una's Prowler. That actually seems a little bit better. So let's cast Kitesail Freebooter. It's probably going to brick, but I mean, I'm going to block with it anyway. So let's see what happens in the opponent's hand. They drew a Phyrexian Arena that I did not know about. which I can take for the time being. So my life total is under pretty good pressure right now, and it's making the arena in my hand not look great. Let's see if the opponent swings with everything. They are going to. I do have the opportunity to ultimate price, and I think I'm going to take it just to slow my opponent down. I'm going to have to block with all of my creatures, and I'm going to have to ultimate price now, so I guess it's not too important which creature I destroy. I can use this ultimate price later with my Torrential Gearhulk, hopefully, because I am going to have to answer that Hero of Bladehold. And the arena in their hand is starting to like look pretty good now because I have no pressure on them. So I'm in a pretty bad spot right now. Mana base kind of coming back to haunt me. And I'm pretty dead to this Fallen Shinobi. So I'm just gonna concede. I don't want my opponent to see anything else from my deck. So that game, my Duress and Kitesail Freebooter looked pretty bad. My opponent showed a lot of creatures, basically. So I could sideboard into the white version of the deck. It'll give me access to Council's Judgment. I'll lose my ultimate price, which is a pretty good card. I think just because of how bad those two discard spells are, I think that's going to make the difference for me. And I'll try out the white version of the deck. I might want to play... I might want to play both Signets in this version. Can I splash black? What other white cards do I want to play? I think Emery got a little bit worse. Let's take out the Emery, play another Signet, play the Parallax Wave. I still might need a few more cards. I think I'm gonna have to splash black. So this is kind of awkward. Do I want Ashiok? Do I want Baleful Strix? I'll splash those two. And I have 18 lands in my deck. I think I misclicked one of my lands. So this hand needs some help, but If we draw the right mana, it can be decent. Interesting. So I suppose my opponent has a bit of a reanimation theme to their deck, even though I didn't see any of the cards last game except for Una's Prowler. So my Brazen Borrower is going to work really well against what they're doing. I also have so many answers, like I have Anguished Unmaking, and I have a few bounce spells in my hand. So I think it's a little bit risky running out the Gideon here, because if they have a removal spell, they just get to kill it for free. Let's see, what does Gideon do? I can give my Baleful Strix indestructible only until end of turn, not on my opponent's turn. So I think I actually just want to pass here, and I'll just leave everything up. It would be nice if I could suspend the Cloudscape, but my opponent has a Rotting Regisaur in play. They're just going to start discarding cards every turn. Like, they kind of have to do something. They can't just keep passing. So I should be able to use either my Anguished Unmaking or my Brazen Borrower pretty well on this turn. And there's an Exhume. So yeah, my opponent does have some reanimation things going on, but I'm not sure what creatures they're trying to reanimate yet. So they have Vindicate. I could just bounce that Baleful Strix to my hand, and then I would be taking 7, but then I would be able to block next turn. Yeah, I think I'll just... Oh, wow, sorry, I can't even use Brazen Borrower in that way. Can only bounce something your opponent controls. Okay. So I have to use something here, and I think I'll use the bounce spell. Let's see. The bounce spell seems good. Giving Regisaur Summoning Sickness makes them discard another card, so this gives me a window to like play some cards, and then maybe my opponent doesn't have anything better to do next turn except for play Rotting Regisaur, and I kind of have answers for everything in my hand, so it's not like... I don't think my opponent can do anything too backbreaking to me that I can't recover from, so I'm going to use this opportunity to get some threats down, and then for the rest of the game I can try to hold up Mystic Confluence, Gear Hulk, basically the 4 instants that I have in my hand. Okay, so they're just going to trade 1 for 1 with my Gideon. I'm fine with that. My opponent might be holding up a counterspell, although it seems like ambitious for them to play one in their mana base. So I wouldn't mind countering this because I want to get Mystic Confluence into my graveyard. I just don't think I need to counter it. I can take 1 hit from it and then bounce it with my Cloudscape. That seems kind of good. Like, I don't even know if I need to Anguished Unmaking it here. I think I can hold on to that. The more resources I can get out of my opponent's hand, the better this Daze is going to become. Like, if they can start discarding lands to it. So, yeah, leaving this Regisaur in play gives me a really good target for the Cloudskate. I'm happy to take one hit from it, which is not a big deal. I am letting them get these discard triggers, and I know they want to get things into their graveyard with their deck because they have Exhume in their deck, but we haven't seen anything yet. Okay, no Shinobi. Hero of Bladehold, that's a great target because now I get to draw an extra card because they only have 2 mana up right now. So this seems really good. So now I can start to try to finish the game with these dorky creatures. My opponent is still holding up 2 blue, but I feel like if they had a counterspell, they would have countered my Mystic Confluence. I'm pretty much just going to hold up counterspells for the rest of the game. So I can let this resolve and then counter their Regisaur on the way down with my Gear Hulk and then just try to win the game with the Gear Hulk. So this seems fine. I don't really need these creatures. I have another creature in hand that still has my opponent on a 2-turn clock. So they have Necromancy, which gets a creature from any graveyard. They don't have great targets, but I suppose I can Daze that. Yeah, I think I just have to Daze because of how good value this is. And I can hold on to the Mystic Confluence in the graveyard still. I'm not really in a rush to win this game. Actually, I think I can play Snapcaster Mage here. Yeah, I think I'll get Snapcaster Mage into play. And I can force my opponent to do something now. And I can have them on a 1-turn clock with my Gear Hulk. So they have Rotting Regisaur and 1 unknown card in hand. So I let the Regisaur resolve because I already have an answer for it. And they're going to reanimate Hero of Bladehold, which is going to put them to 3. So that's fine. Doesn't really matter how I do this. Now I can just Torrential Gear Hulk to win the game. So still haven't seen what the opponent's reanimating. Their deck is a little bit weird, but I have more information about it now. They have Reanimate, Necromancy, Toxic Deluge, Hero's Downfall, Vindicate, Exhume. So my Duress is looking okay now. I just had a small sample of cards I saw in the first game. So maybe I want to... I'm not sure which version of the deck. Do I want to stick with the white one? My deck's kind of a mess right now. That game worked out well because I drew all of my colored mana, which is not going to be a given. I definitely have too many mana sources in my deck. Yeah, I don't love the white version of my deck. I think I'm just going to go back to the black one. If we can make it in time. Yeah, I think I like this deck better. The freebooter is not amazing is the thing, but it does a couple of things. I think I can play it. And then, can I really make Emery work? I think it's possible. I just don't have... The last, like, 2 slots in my deck are kind of awkward. I do want, like, all my Vindicates, so... Yeah, I don't love how I have sideboarded. This hand looks okay. I kind of wish I would have sideboarded in order to put all the Vindicates in my deck and just maybe take out some of the double black cards and just have my mana be kind of awkward. So I think I'll take the Go for the Throat. So yeah, my opponent has 1 unknown card in hand, I think. I think I just need to daze this. Even though I do need an answer to that Hero of Bladehold, but even if I daze the hero, they can just Unburial Rights it at some point, so I'm planning on using my mana next turn. That play could have been wrong. I'm gonna put Ashiok into play. Maybe I can find an answer to hero in my opponent's deck. But yeah, Hero of Bladehold is going to be pretty effective. And with the Unburial Rights, it's not like I can actually remove it, at least for quite some time. So we'll see how this goes. It looks like my opponent's not playing it this turn, but they did get to take a really good card out of my hand. Let's see if my opponent makes a land drop. If they don't, I mean, I'm feeling pretty good, but my hand is also pretty bad. The Swamp was a good draw. And I should be looking at the cards I'm exiling from my opponent's deck that are non-creatures, just to keep that in mind. Okay, that answers the Ashiok. I'm feeling pretty good with this arena in play, though. Hopefully can find enough answers to break through their Hero of Bladehold and Unburial Rites. Okay, so should I Emery first or should I Ponder first? I think I should just Emery. Okay, we got Walking Ballista in the graveyard, which is really good against Mother of Runes. Okay, so yeah, my opponent does have a lot of creature removal, but that's okay. I definitely just take Tasigur here. I don't want to have Phyrexian Arena and Dark Confidant in play. I guess I have to take all of these cards, though, don't I? So that's fine. Tasigur is really good on this board. So in my upkeep, I can activate Tasigur next turn if I want to. My opponent can just put Duress into my hand. So I'm going to draw Dark Confidant and Swamp this turn, which are not great cards. Yeah, I think I just don't want Dark Confidant. Like, I think we're going to play a long game. So I'm planning to take like 5 more damage from this Phyrexian Arena, some damage from the Una's Prowler. So I also don't want to draw Swamp. So let's do this. Opponent's going to probably give me Duress, which gets rid of half of Unburial Rites. That's fine. Gearhulk was a really good draw. Una's Prowler and Mother of Runes is going to do some damage to me. So I do need to like win this game eventually. My opponent should probably not take this damage, but we'll see. So I'm going to wait to block with my Kitesail Freebooter until I have some more information about the cards that are going to be in my hand. Wow. Okay, so they play Regisaur, and they're committing to discarding their hero of Blade Hold. So I don't think I need to deal with my opponent's threats this turn. So I'm going to use my Narset. So I am kind of dying to my Phyrexian Arena, so we'll see if I can win this game before the arena kills me. I don't think I have any life gain in my deck. So this game's going to be close. We'll see if my opponent gets aggressive here with the Mother of Runes activation. And they are. They're going to make me take the damage here. I think it's a pretty good play. But I'm going to be able to cast Gear Hulk on this turn. I basically just need to kill my opponent before the arena does. And I'm going to be able to activate this Una's Prowler ability. Discard the Duress. And now that card goes away. I think I can race this. I have a few turns. And I have a Narset activation. I have one pretty good play right now, which is Gear Hulk bounce the Mom to my opponent's hand, then they'll discard it to Regisaur, and then I can just chump block the Regisaur for the rest of the game. I think I should be able to win by doing that. So in which way should I bounce the creature? I have 7 mana. So I can bounce it with Cloudscape and then hold up Counterspell. That seems pretty good. Or I can bounce with Gear Hulk, draw 2 cards. I think, let's see. I think I have time to do it this way. Drawing a land on my turn would be pretty good. And yeah, this should do it. So I cut it pretty close there, allowing my opponent to have that one turn where they hit me for 7. So pretty close game, but yeah, I feel pretty good. I guess I'm happy with going back to the blue-black version. It worked out okay there. Let's see how round 2 goes. Definitely just mulligan this hand. Need some islands. This hand also looks pretty bad. We're on the play. Let's see what my opponent does. My opponent kept 7. I think I just have to mulligan again though, which is fine. I have plenty of cards in my deck that can bring me card advantage, like Dark Confidant or so on. Let's keep this hand. Island on bottom. Island on bottom. Okay, playing against mono green. So Beast Within is going to be pretty good to like try to mana screw me, but that's fine. I think I'll just take, let's see, Green Sun Zenith and Arbor Elf are pretty similar, so I'll take the Green Sun Zenith just to cut my opponent's options off. Like if I took their Arbor Elf, they could just Green Sun Zenith for another Llanowar Elf. And I don't really, they're not using the 3 mana effectively yet, depending on what they draw, we'll see. But yeah, that play seemed good. So I have a window right now to take Beast Within out of my opponent's hand. I'm not sure if there's a better use for my Snapcaster. I'll probably have to hold it for quite some time to get to that point. What is Beast Within really going to do for my opponent this game? Eventually it can destroy one of my Planeswalkers or something, so I think it seems worth it to make this play. Okay, so now I have another option. So yeah, I think I just take Reclamation Sage, and eventually my opponent can destroy my swamp, but that seems fine. A 3/3 Beast is decent on this board, so we'll just play it that way. That's definitely a problem. Not sure if I'll be able to fight through this Nissa. Planeswalkers are a bit of a problem for my deck. The white splash can help me remove them, so I'll probably be playing white. So yeah, my opponent is going to get to cast Emrakul here. And then they can suicide my Baleful Strix. So yeah, I'm pretty dead. I think I was dead on board there. So I assume my opponent's deck will have a few Planeswalkers in it. Some more like 8 drops or whatever, maybe an Eldrazi. My deck can already deal with stuff like that. Like I have Kitesail Freebooter and Duress to get the Planeswalkers. I have 3 counterspells and a Venser to deal with the top end. So the only problem is like ultimate price is looking kind of weak. Like it might not stop the big things that they're going to do. But my options in white, I'm not sure if they're going to help me that much. Although stuff like Hero of Bladehold is pretty good because the green opponent won't be able to remove it. So Hero is really good at pressuring their Planeswalkers. I think my deck is okay as it is. I have so many answers. I don't want to get hung up on the last game where I mulliganed to 5. So I think we're still best off like this. This hand looks okay. I can kill their 1-drop with my Walking Ballista, and then I can save ultimate price maybe for another threat. It's going to be a bit of a problem if they have a 5-mana Planeswalker that they get down quickly. So Sylvan is going to be really good just against me in general because I don't put a lot of pressure on my opponent. So they're going to get to see a lot of cards with it. So I feel like I just have to take that. Beast Within will kill my Ashiok, but that's fine. Yeah, I think I just want to get on board and force them to Beast Within my Ashiok. It will at least give me a 3/3, and that will make their future Planeswalkers not as good. I already have an answer lined up for Pelukrinos. There's not much I can really do by waiting on Ashiok. If I wait, maybe my opponent just Beast Within's my island, and then that's actually going to be pretty bad for me. So they should Beast Within on my upkeep usually. So, but I guess they're playing around a counterspell. Most likely, my opponent will play Pelukrinos next turn. I can get a 2/2 Walking Ballista into play. That seems good. It's going to really protect me against Planeswalkers, which is kind of what I'm worried about. My other option is to ponder and try to get myself closer to this Mystic Confluence, but I feel pretty good if I can just get on board here, actually. So worst case scenario is like I destroy this Pelukrinos, and then my opponent resolves Nissa, which would go to 6, and then I could attack it. No, I could kill the Nissa. Yeah, I don't really think this is gonna go wrong. There's not that many ways it can go wrong. I'll still ponder first though, see what I get. I think I have to shuffle this. And we'll see what the opponent can do. I'm ahead on board. They don't have a ton of mana in play. And I'm going to have Mystic Confluence up after this turn. Well, I'm not sure how they're planning to win, just chump blocking here, but so yeah, I just keep up the Mystic Confluence. And now I have game on board. So that worked out pretty well. I guess I won't show them the duress. So I got to use my disruption effectively that game, and I had a counterspell later in the game when it mattered. That's kind of what this match is going to come down to. So yeah, I still like the black iteration of the deck. I think it's just fine. My opponent kept. I think my hand is pretty bad. I don't have anything to use my Snapcaster with. And then Ophiomancer is really only effective against my opponent attacking me with creatures like Polukranos or Primeval Titan, but if they start doing that, the game's not really at a good point. So I want to have like some disruption in my hand and like one of my Planeswalkers or 3-mana card advantage plays like Phyrexian Arena. So I do think this hand is a bit below average. It looks keepable, but the fact that the Snapcaster is just a 2/1 in this hand, I think I can mulligan. And this hand is kind of awkward, but I'm definitely going to keep. And I'll put Snapcaster on the bottom. I think I need that card the least. So if I don't draw an island, this hand's pretty slow, but so I can't really do much here. My opponent is going to be able to play a 5-drop or a 6-drop. I can keep up Petty Theft, and that's going to be good against something like Polukranos. It could be decent against a Planeswalker. I'm probably not going to cast this Cloudscape this game. I'm probably going to suspend it. So yeah, I think I should just suspend it here, and then anything I can, if I need to Petty Theft, I can just do it on my next turn. Interesting. My opponent is playing Blast Zone. Vivian Reed is pretty good. Maybe I can find a discard spell to deal with it after bouncing it. So opponent is going to have access to a lot of mana. That's going to make these bounce spells less effective. If I get this Signet into play, my opponent can destroy it with Vivian Reed. And that is my second blue source. I don't really think I can do anything better this turn. If my opponent is destroying my Signet, at least they're not destroying my Baleful Strix. I do want to get my card off the Baleful Strix and start digging into my library. But yeah, Planeswalkers are pretty tough to deal with for my deck if I'm not able to get them on the front end with the discard spells, because I can't attack planeswalkers effectively. So now that I know my opponent has Vivian and Nissa, like maybe I want to be in the white iteration of this deck a little bit more, because just casting Council's Judgment on it after they get one activation, that's still a pretty good place to be. My opponent has 8 mana. Oh, they're going to go off with Skull Clamp. I don't know about this play, just destroying all your creatures while you have Gaia's Cradle in play. I mean, my opponent has a lot of cards. They did destroy my Signet. Well, it looks like I'm going to be able to answer this Vivian, because I have Cloudscape coming down next turn, so I'll be able to attack it for 3. I don't have a great way to use Petty Theft, so I'll just see what my opponent does. Maybe I'll just end up casting the Brazen Borrower half and just start attacking my opponent with flyers. Whisperwood Elemental is going to be pretty good against me. It's going to be hard for me to race that. I think I want to bounce the Whisperwood here. Yeah, I think that's good enough. So I'm getting back in this game a little bit, but my opponent has Harmonize on top of their library and Courser in play. And Skull Clamp, like they have a bunch of card advantage going on. So I'll bounce the Courser. We'll see if I can use my Mystic Confluence effectively. It's possible that my opponent's doing all this dirtling, drawing cards, casting Harmonize, Skull Clamp activations. It's possible that it's just like too slow. I'm going to let that resolve. So there's Nissa on top of my opponent's library, which I can kill with my flyers after they activate it once. So I kind of need to cast Mystic Confluence this turn. If I'm going to win this game, I need to use my mana this turn, and I need to use my mana on following turns as well, which means I need to draw some spells too. So my opponent has 3 mana, but I don't really see a way around this. I think I just need to counter this card. My other option is to bounce it, and then I get to draw 1 extra card. It's a pretty tough spot because I don't love using two modes of the card to mana leak, because like my opponent has more cards in their hand. They're going to be able to use this mana. So, and I kind of need to get card advantage to get ahead in this game. I was lucky to draw my Gear Hulk, which is one of my best cards left in my deck. So I can Inquisition plus Brazen Borrower, or I can Torrential Gear Hulk. The Nissa is going to make a 3/3, and then that's going to be able to race me pretty well. Yeah. I think I want to cast Gear Hulk this turn, get that blocker down. Maybe my opponent empties their hand here, and then I'm not able to use my Inquisition effectively later, but I think that's a chance that I have to be willing to take. My opponent plays Nissa. They have, let's see, their Devoted Druid only taps for 1 mana right now. So they have 3, 4, 5 mana. So again, I have to use 2 mana leaks here. I don't know what else I can do though. So yeah, my opponent's just not going to run out of cards of this game because of the Skull Clamp and the fact that they have cast Harmonize, they have Courser in play. So I just need to win with the cards I have on board. I'm not sure if I can do that. Like, they can probably chump my Gear Hulk pretty effectively, just with the creature that is wearing the Skull Clamp. But I do have some flyers. They're going to have to kill me eventually. So I think I don't really care about the Sylvan Library. Like, they already have so many cards. It is pretty good with the Courser, but like, they're not going to be able to pay life because I'm racing them in the sky with my flyers. The Emrakul is a problem. I don't even know if I can do anything about that. 4, 5, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, they can cast Emrakul next turn. I still think I'd take Beast Within. And yeah, just, it's going to be hard to get around that Emrakul. If my opponent... Yeah, I don't know if they should have done that. I'm not sure if I am going to play Brazen Borrower. It's just going to die to the Emrakul, and then I don't really have removal for Emrakul, so I'm in a bit of a tough spot there. Yeah, I think I just pass. I'll let my opponent suicide one of my other creatures into the Emrakul, not the Brazen Borrower. Yeah, I have bounce spells in my deck. I have a Venser left that can bounce the Emrakul. It's just not very effective, obviously. Emrakul does have trample. I can block Emrakul with Baleful Strix. That is a thing I can do. My opponent can blast zone it away, though. And they can blast zone the Kitesail Freebooter. Okay. So that's not great. Not sure why my opponent did that. It's getting to the point where Ashiok is going to be pretty good against my opponent. They do have Green Sun Zenith to protect them from getting decked. I really don't know why my opponent played their Blast Zone this way. Yeah, the Pelucranos is going to be pretty good as well. I mean, I'm basically at the point where I have to beat my opponent's whole deck because they're going to draw their whole deck. Well, okay, that's another way to win this game. So I'm at 6. Not really sure the outs I'm playing towards here, but my opponent can Blast Zone and Monstrosity Pelucranos to remove some of my creatures, so I had to leave back the Cloudskate. I didn't want to leave back the Freebooter and then they just Blast Zone the Freebooter and then force me to block Pelucranos with Walking Ballista. Reclamation Sage is looking pretty good on this board. I mean, I'm getting close to dealing all the damage to my opponent, but I don't have a lot of extra reach in my library, actually, even though it looks like I'm kind of close. Like this walking ballista, I can ping them down to 5. It's not going to be enough. The Brazen Borrower can attack them again. Like that card's probably surviving. But yeah, I think I'm just under too much pressure because the fact that I'm at 6 life means that I'm not going to get a turn like after this. And Pelucranos also gets to wipe both of my creatures here, so I'm probably just dead right now. Okay, they're just doing it for 3. So they're giving me a chance to kill their Pelucranos now with my Walking Ballista. It's getting to the point where my opponent could run out of threats to kill me with, especially if I draw Ashiok. Green Sun Zenith for 7. I don't know what creature this is going to be. I know my opponent has Primeval Titan. I mean, Rexage, just drawing into Rexage with their Skull Clamp would have been decent. So yeah, they did go for Rexage. So by all measures, I should just be dead this game. I should have been dead a long time ago. But somehow I'm here still playing this game. I have one more activation, so I suppose I'll kill the Raphelos. Yeah. Doing damage to my opponent at this point is not going to matter. I'm going to take 3 here from the Courser. I don't think I have great draws left in my deck except for Ashiok. And my opponent gets to overrun next turn. Although I have Freebooter, they could fail to kill my Freebooter again here. For that reason, I should have used my Walking Ballista to kill the Reclamation Sage. I should have left Raphelos on the board. Oh, I'm taking 4, actually. Yeah, I don't really see myself living through this turn. Opponent is going to go down to 5 cards in library. Should I daze that? It'll force them to tap their Devoted Druid. I think I just want this to resolve. Like, if there's any chance that they take 2 lands out of their deck, which they do not, draw Arena, and I'm dead. Okay, my opponent has a pretty good start. They got the Mana Crypt out of their hand. Pretty funny board for the opponent to have. They're going to take a lot of damage just from their own permanents, but let's see if they have anything left to hit with Inquisition of Kozilek. That's a no. Their hand looks pretty bad. I guess I'm still going to have to destroy their Bob, though, next turn. They reveal another swamp. Okay, so still not casting Tez off what they have here. And I have two options. I can Ultimate Price or Walking Ballista. I think I'll save the Walking Ballista. If this game goes long, Ballista could be good. Just deal some extra damage to my opponent, who is already at 14, but they did hit their island. So this Tezzeret is going to start pressuring me. Tangle Wire, okay. So my opponent's going to have mana, and I'm not for a while, but they're taking Mana Crypt damage during this time. And their Tezzeret is at 1 loyalty, whereas they could have ticked up and gotten to the ultimate really quick, so I'm not sure if this Tangle Wire play was great. My opponent has 3 swamps in hand. We'll see if they draw anything good. So next turn I'll be able to cast Ophiomancer. So pretty big turn for my opponent here. They're pretty far off of Tezzeret Ultimate. They've been really unlucky with their coin flips so far. And they lose another one. I think they've lost every coin flip. So the Ballista's looking really good. Battlesphere was a good draw, but I can stop it with Ophiomancer. Opponent's still with 3 swamps in hand, I believe. So I can Baleful Strix. Or Ophiomancer. I guess Ophiomancer is a little bit better. I kind of feel like the drawing a card off Baleful Strix doesn't matter. Pretty much this game was going to come down to me surviving and me casting Walking Ballista. So I'll just try to survive as long as I can. This play also lets me attack with my Ophiomancer if the opponent goes all in on the Battlesphere here. My opponent could search up a sword or something here with their Tez. They lost another flip. They're at 4. I don't exactly have lethal with my Ballista, though. Pretty funny game we have here. where I have not done a whole lot, and my opponent has done some pretty broken things, but it's not clear who's winning the game. I mean, I guess I am pretty far ahead, but that could definitely change. Let's see if my opponent can find something with their top. So they drew a card, and then -2 with Tez. Is this going to be Winter Orb? Winter Orb would be pretty effective here. It is Winter Orb. I will still get to cast my Ballista for 1, and that's going to put my opponent on a 1-flip clock. We'll see what they call with Revoker. They have not seen my hand, so they don't know that I have Walking Ballista. They ended up calling Urza. And they're going to attack with the mirrors, not with the actual battle sphere. Yeah, they just don't have good attacks. Like, if they don't have pressure, then they're not really winning this game with their Mana Crypt in play. So my Death Touch creatures are looking pretty good here. Tap my Ophiomancer. I think my opponent just has the 2 swamps in hand. I think the play that makes the most sense is just to put down the Ballista, because if I spend 2 mana this turn otherwise, then it's not... Yeah, I think I just have to get this down this turn. And my opponent's going to have to win like 3 flips in a row here. So yeah, really unlucky for my opponent. They may have lost every single Mana Crypt flip this game, which is just insane. So this is another spot where some of my white cards are pretty decent. Is Kaya any good? No. I like my discard spells. Yeah, even the Ophiomancer was really strong. I think the deck looks good, actually. The artifact deck my opponent's playing is... That style of deck is light on threats, and so my deck has so much disruption that it can be hard when the game goes long. My opponent can run out of ways to affect the board. We'll see if they have an artifact creature in their hand to make this workshop really good. They do. They have Lodestone Golem. So yeah, their hand looks really good. I'll take the Batterskull, which is the card that they're going to cast. this game. Tezzeret, they're like miles away from casting that. Lodestone is going to shut me off of playing anything next turn. Let's see. Yeah, non-artifact spells. Okay. So if my opponent finds a land here to equip the sword, it's going to be pretty bad for me. Did they brick? So they have one unknown in hand. So that was the first thing I needed to happen. I needed them to brick on lands there. So now I can use Petty Theft to try to out-tempo my opponent. There's pretty much no other option. Eventually I'm going to have to deal with this Lodestone, though. Maybe I'll be able to counter it on the way down, but we'll see. I know two of the cards in my opponent's hand. Oh, and they have Ancient Tomb. Okay. So yeah, that's gonna make my day's play not work. So yeah, this is just gonna be a little bit too slow now. But I will be able to put Ophiomancer on the board next turn, and their swords do not get past my black creatures. So we'll see if I can continue developing my plan from there. Opponent still cannot cast Tezzeret. I can answer the Dark Confidant. They're going to be taking a little bit of damage off this Ancient Tomb. Ophiomancer has really never looked better, if we're being honest, in this match. Surely my opponent can't just attack here. I don't know what they're going for here. So I'm out from under the Lodestone Golem, which means I can cast all these spells. And that seems good. I'll start with Freebooter. They're probably not getting shielded into play this game. And yeah, I'll just destroy the Bob. I don't even want my opponent to draw any cards. My opponent just has a Shieldred in hand now. And they're under a decent amount of pressure. Not a ton, but they have 4 mana they can use. Okay, Damnation was a pretty good draw for them. Probably not going to get to use this library this game. So me and my opponent both with not a lot of pressure. And any creature my opponent draws is going to be really scary because of those 2 swords. Tasigur was a good draw. So if I think about what I want to get back with Tasigur, let's see, my opponent has Tezzeret back in their hand now. Tezzeret's a pretty good card. I don't really want Ultimate Price because my opponent can get artifact creatures. I don't really want Duress. So, like, let's take out the Duress. Yeah, let's just leave the Kitesail Freebooter. because I would like to get the Tezzeret out of my opponent's hand. My opponent is on a pretty quick clock right now. And yeah, Tangle Wire is a dead card when you're behind. So I'm liking my position here. Yeah, I think my opponent's dead now. They can resolve Tezzeret if they draw a blue source through my days. But yeah, I'm going to have Brazen Borrower in play. I don't really think there's anything they can do. They can equip the sword, but it's not going to matter. So we beat a couple of questionable decks this draft, I would say. Lost to like the real deck, the green deck. So that was an okay draft. I think I could have gotten out of white earlier and ended up with a few better picks, but happy to go 2-1 with that. Thank you guys for watching, and see you next time.